Well, welcome back, guys and girls. Just a real quick video for you guys this evening. Since my recording this afternoon, the NHL did announce a couple of other trades. Wanted to cover those both with you tonight. One that may potentially have impact on the Boston Bruins and their ability to move Linus Ullmark. So, wanted to just give a real quick coverage on both of these tonight. But we do have a trade between the Washington Capitals and the LA Kings that went down this afternoon. Pierre-Luc Dubois, forward, going to Washington for goalie Darcy Kemper. Interesting trade. One I didn't necessarily see coming. Um, Not surprised that LA wanted to move off of Pierre-Luc Dubois and that big contract. He's under a 7-year, $8.5 million per year contract. So based on his production from last season, not really surprised. LA, obviously in need of goaltending. Kemper fits the bill, former cup winner in Colorado from a couple years ago, veteran guy. He has 3 years and $5.25 million per year on his contract. He's 34 years old. I'll start with Pierre Luc Dubois. A little bit of his history. He was a top tier pick back in, I think, 2016. Started in Columbus, traded to Winnipeg for Patrick Laine, a couple of disgruntled players that we talked about, I think, a couple videos ago. Uh, was in Winnipeg, traded to LA this past year. Really not a great season based on that cap hit. He was 82 games for 16 goals, 24 assists for 40 points. You're paying somebody $8.5 million. You got to get more than 40 points out of him. Not a great year. I'm wearing LA tonight because I think just the fact they were able to get out from under this contract and get rid of him, get him off the team, open that money back up, I think it's just a home run. And if I'm a Kings fan tonight, I'm doing the happy dance. I'm just doing the happy dance. Dubois has tons of talent. It's not a question of talent. It's not a question of ability, but there's something there that's just missing with him. I'm not close enough to it to be able to say, but what you hear from people that are around those teams and that have been around him is that some questions about his work ethic, questions about is he maybe a lazy player, one of these like high end, high talented players that just doesn't put in that grind, right? That grinding effort that most of those stars do. There's some questions around that. I'm not judging. I'm not saying that that's what he is, but there's a lot of people much closer to him and the situation that throw those questions out there. But wildly talented player. If Washington can get 85, 90% of his potential, I think this could be a really good trade for Washington. But that's a big contract, a lot of term. Yeah, we're gonna see. We'll see for Washington what happens here. For the Kings, they did need a goaltender. They had been talked about with Ullmark. Definitely a team in need of upgrading at that position. And Kempford, I think, does provide a bit of an upgrade. Now he's 34 years old. He has 3 years left on his contract at $5.25 million. This past season, not a great year for him. What was he? 13, 14, and 3 with a 3.31 goals against. Great and an 890 save percentage. He did lose his starting job to Charlie Lindgren throughout the year. I think he did deal with some injuries throughout the year too. So, but of course, a couple years ago in Colorado was part of that Stanley Cup winning team. So, he does have a cup on his resume. Um, and I do think it's an upgrade for LA. And I think just getting out of that Dubois contract. I mean, listen, I'll give Rob Blake, the GM out there, credit. It was a horrible trade he made last year with Winnipeg. He gave up on, what was it, Velarde and a couple other pieces to bring in Dubois, and it just didn't work. So, you know, at least he was able to kind of acknowledge it, say, hey, this didn't work. We got to move on. And they're able to get it done. Uh, the piece here for Boston, of course, is that this is now another team. Let's talk about New Jersey earlier, trading for Markstrom. LA was another team that was talked about with Allmark. Now, LA may very well be one of those teams on Allmark's no trade list, but that's now another team that's kind of out of the goalie market. Assuming that they're set with Kemper and feel all right with him and another backup. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. But interesting trade, straight up trade, no money kept, no draft picks involved, just a purely to blow off Darcy Kemper. So interesting one. Another smaller trade between San Jose and Dallas today too. Forward Ty Dellandrea, 23-year-old restricted free agent going from Dallas to San Jose for a 2025 fourth round draft pick back to Dallas. The Delandria, 42 games this year. Again, young player, 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. Energy type of guy. I think there's some potential there. Listen, I think a decent trade for San Jose. You don't give up much. You got draft picks. You got tons of young players. Another younger player to bring into your program. You're trying to build a new culture. Delandria, like I said, good energy guy. It's a good trade for everybody. Then Dallas doesn't have to worry about re-signing him. They get something back for him. All in all, I think it's a good trade all around. And San Jose, busy today, bringing in Goodrow and now Delandria. So, they're starting to kind of rebuild this a little bit. So, those are a couple trades from today. Um, Want to take a moment and talk, though, about Linus Ullmark and the Boston Bruins. We know that the goalie market is what it is. There's a few names out there. There's only so many suitors that need goaltenders, first of all. And we also know that Ullmark has that no movement clause built into his contract, which I think is right around 15 or 16 teams. So he does have some voice here on this situation. But you have LA seemingly off the table. You have New Jersey, I think, very much off the table now. That was a team very much talked about. So where does that leave the Boston Bruins? And where does that leave Linus Ullmark? We know that Ullmark would probably prefer to stay in Boston. My heart wants him to stay in Boston too. I love that tandem. Love the goalie hug. I'm gonna miss the goalie hug. If this is done, if the goalie hug is gone, really is a sad day. But we understand the realities. That $5 million that Omar carries, that represents some good upgrades that the Boston Bruins could utilize with that money. So it makes all the sense in the world to move off of Ullmark and ensure that Swayman has the net moving forward. So where does that leave us? And again, we don't know the teams on Ullmark's list. We don't. I personally don't know. I don't know if that's public knowledge. I don't think it is. So we're all kind of throwing darts and guessing right now, just looking at the landscape, looking at the teams that still need goaltenders. What's left out there now with two goalies moved, two teams kind of off the market. Let's start with the Ottawa Senators in division, which always makes me a little bit nervous, but a couple opportunities here, maybe with Ottawa. There's been all sorts of smoke around Jacob Chikrin. I've talked about Chikrin in the past, defenseman, uh, kind of an offensively minded defenseman, $4.6 million contract just with one more year on that contract. Would I be shocked if a Chikrin for Allmark, maybe a couple picks involved someplace on either side, was a possibility? I wouldn't shock me at all if that happened. Don Sweeney has looked at Chikrin in the past. The Bruins have looked at him in the past. I've had my comments on Chikrin in the past. I don't think he's a horrible player. I don't think he's a horrible player. I just don't know about the fit. Again, I worry about bringing in another offensively minded defenseman when you have Mason Lohrei, who's trying to develop. I don't know. I think the Bruins could do worse than this. So if it does end up being a Chikrin for Allmark type of situation, I can live with it. Not my favorite move. Um, when we look at Ottawa, there's also that Brady Kachuk. All the rumors around Brady right now. I think Brady would cost you a lot more than just Linus Allmark. He is their captain. He's got some term left. He's young player. Uh, exactly what the Bruins need. They need a forward like him who can score, a forward who can forecheck, a forward who can bring some physicality. Everybody talks about Matthew Tkachuk being this brute. Brady's way more brutish than Matthew. He just is. Um, I've seen Brady live a couple times in Ottawa, and every game you just like you know that Brady's coming. It's there's going to be some big hits. The board's going to be shaking a little bit. Um, he'd be a great Bruin, but what are you willing to give up if you want to go out and get a Brady Kachuk? You're going to have to give up not just Hallmark. Maybe it's a Fabian Lysell. You know, If I'm Ottawa, I'm probably asking about Mason Lohrei. I might be asking about Poitras. I might be asking about Beecher. You willing to give up one of those guys to get a Brady Kachuk? Uh, could it be there's been some thought? Do you have to move? This is kind of crazy, Len, but maybe it's a Pasternak, for a Kachuk. Is that something you do? I don't do it personally, but those rumors have kind of been floated out there. I don't think it happens. Pasta, I believe, has a no trade clause too, so I don't think any of that happens. But all that to say, to go out and land a Brady Kachuk, it's going to take more than an Ullmark. But I think it's something that could be explored, could be talked about. We'll see. We'll see. The other team that's been kind of right around the chatter has been the Carolina Hurricanes. Despite all the goalies they have, it hasn't quite worked. Freddie Anderson continues to not stay healthy for them, and they're in the market. Linus Ullmark could be a great fit in Carolina. It could be potentially one of the missing pieces for them. Marty Necas, forward, 25-year-old, has been talked about as potentially a really good fit here in Boston. I wouldn't mind seeing this one here, guys. He is an RFA, so we'll need a contract from Boston to make this happen. But Necas for Allmark, maybe again, there's some draft picks on either side to make something like that happen. But that right now seems like a very clear cut fit, I think, for both teams. Um, we'll see. We'll see. The last team here, Colorado Avalanche. Obviously, 2022 Stanley Cup champions. They had a great year this year. Of course, didn't make it through the Western Conference, but loaded team. Goaltending a problem. A little bit of a problem. Georgiev, I thought did a good job. Serviceable guy. Kind of a good kind of 1A, 1B type goaltender, but they need something more there. I think if Colorado is going to get back to the top of the mountain, they need another goaltender. Allmark, I think, would be an amazing fit. Uh, I haven't really explored too much of their roster, but the one player I look at that I would really love to see back would be a Josh Manson, defenseman. He's 32 years old. He's 6'3", 218-pound defenseman. Through 76 games this year, he had 8 goals, 17 assists for 25 points. Has 2 years left on his existing contract at $4.5 million. So when you look at that contract, it fits into Boston. You would trade Allmark for the 5. You get in Manson, something you need, a physical defenseman with some term. You shave that 500,000 off, but it answers a need for you that you have if you're Boston. It answers the need if you're Colorado. Just a thought, just an idea. We'll see. Who knows? There's been some rumors about maybe Detroit's out there looking at Allmark or looking at upgrades at goaltender. Um, Gonna be curious, but we're slowly now, not slowly actually. We lost two. We lost two teams today that were potentially in on Allmark. So once again, if Boston wants to get something done, I think they got to get it done quick. And I do think if something does happen, you're going to see it happen soon. I think if something's gonna transpire with this, Sweeney and Neely, they're gonna have to make something happen. I'd say before the draft, which is just a little over a week away. We will see. So that's all I have for you guys this evening. But just want to make sure I covered those couple of topics, those couple trades. I almost put the video on a couple hours ago, but I'm like, you know what? Just want to make sure nothing else happens before I put this out. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you all again soon.